Hey kids. The hair's a little fuzzy, but it's a sloppy top knot on purpose because I could risk taking it down and have this perfect mess, or it could just be a mess. And I had time today for a little makeup. The light's behind me though, so you might not be able to see it so well. Sorry! Doing my best. Gonna have to fucking be good enough for you because I set the standards. You don't because I'm the fucking goddess. Alright. Love stream number 3. Q&A, good question this week. Again, if you have a question you want answered live, you can submit it to DaminaVontana@gmail.com. If you're on this live stream on Facebook or Twitter or FetLife or YouTube, then you already know how to spell my name. DaminaVontana@gmail. I kind of want to flip around right now. But I'm not gonna, because I do this shit for free. And it's fucking late at the end of a long weekend in Japan. The seasons are shifting and the climate is shit. That's what nobody tells you about Japan. It's like worse than fucking London, and I'm over it and I'm ready to come home for some goddamn sunshine in so many ways. Speaking of, really quick, I want to put in a plug for DC Pride. The festival is Sunday, June 10th. I think that's the correct date. You get it. That Sunday around the 10th. It is the largest free public festival in Washington, D.C. I'm not kidding you. Everyone, every kind of person comes out for the festival on Sunday. And I'm going to be there with my good buddy Sasha, and we're going to have a giant rainbow picnic area next to the main stage. And if you want to get dressed up or not get dressed up, if you just want to join us, like, please let me know. I'd love to have you there. DaminaVontana@gmail. All right, so this week's question is what to do if you have a taboo fetish. All right, so first of all, you don't know if it's taboo because so much of what people do is taboo to them, right? Like there's all this shame that gets mixed in, all this misinformation, all this lack of communication. Because if you already think it's taboo, you're not talking to anybody about it. Rewind 15 years ago, fuck. I was a young queer girl, and the internet was as young as I was. And I hopped online one day when I was super desperate and married to a man, and I found out that there was a group for lesbians and bisexuals married to men, and there was a group for lesbian and bisexual women, and like my world just took off. And so I thought until that point that I was the only one. So that is what made me feel taboo. So everything happens on like a grade and a scale, right? So maybe right now you think that your desires and your fantasies are taboo just because you haven't connected with other people that share that same desire. And if that's the case, you're kind of out of excuses in 2018 because we have this thing called the internet and we've had it for like a decade. And as soon as the world went online about 12 years ago, what we realized is we're all fucking freaks. So you are not alone, and that's the number one takeaway I want you to have. Now, if you have a fantasy or a fetish that is extreme, even by kinky standards, or requires a lot of protocol and planning because there's safety concerns because maybe there's a lot of body fluids involved or like God who knows what, then yeah, you might have to search a little harder to find people that share your fetish and are willing to engage with you. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with what you want. It just means that what you desire is highly specialized. And the good news is, thanks to the internet, you can go online and you can study this. And I encourage you to study it. And I encourage you to study in ways that are not fictional. So, like, not literotica or erotica, but get on a website like FetLife. Fuck, I hate promoting FetLife. But it is legit the only site that we have because even in 2018, Kinksters are still marginalized, but we're fucking coming for you. After they get done vilifying trans people, they're gonna have to vilify Kinksters because once you get past 50 Shades and we actually come out of the closet and we present ourselves for who we are and actually start demanding equal rights and treatment, then there's gonna be some pushback, but that's fucking fine because we're prepared for it. And Kinksters come in all colors and all creeds, so they're gonna have to take on the whole fucking world if they want to keep marginalizing bitches like us or bitches in general. By the way, like fucking thumbs up to my trans people. Like you are in the spotlight right now. So hell yeah, carry on. I hope the next wave is sex workers so we can get some rights and protection. Sorry, I'm preaching. Anyways, let me get back to teaching. So you've got this thing that you want, and you think that there's something wrong with it just because you've never talked to anybody about it. All right, well, fuck you if you want to play and don't do your research. So, step one, do your research, all right? Google, whatever the fuck your thing is. You can read fiction, you can read literotica, you can read erotica. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that that's not reality, because here's the takeaway this week. Head, heart. That is the longest distance you will ever travel, is the 18 inches between your head and your heart. All right? So in here we have a fantasy. I want this. I want this. But in your heart, there's this reality. Like, it's different. Things are different when you actually try them. And my opinion, my personal experience is the things I fantasize about, I would never want to do in reality. They are fantasies. What I do in reality is very real to me. It's not a fantasy. It's who I am. I'm a dominant woman. I like submissive men. I'm a goddess. I like to be worshipped. I like to be served. I like to own somebody if I love them in a way that is mutually beneficial. But my fantasies are kind of vanilla and kind of cliche, and I don't really want to actually do them in real life. All right? So I understand the difference between my head and my heart. You might not be so fucking lucky. So if you have this thing and you think you really want to do it, but you've never done it, hire a professional. That's what we're here for. Because the last fucking thing you need to do is go around to some parties, recruiting some civilians, picking up some ordinary folk to make your fantasy a reality, and then you realize you don't want it. After all, that it was much harder when it was in your head. Sorry, I've had a little wine. That was like a harder. Yeah. After you get done exploring with a professional, you will know whether your quote unquote taboo fetish is worthy of bothering a civilian. And by civilian, I mean somebody that's not getting paid to do this, somebody that you met on a group, on some website, or that you had a few chats with who's like, oh yeah, I'm into that too. Well, if they've done it, if they've actually done it, IRL, in real time, then they know they like it. If you haven't done it, you're just obsessing. You don't know. You don't know. That's what professionals are here for. We have the experience to guide you through something so that you can really figure out if this is actually what you want. Then, and only fucking then, if it's what you really want, then you can go find some civilians, okay? And you can find them online. So one, do your research. Get online, Google that shit, find out what it's really about, read other people's experience, begin to realize that you're not alone, begin to relate to other people's desires and fantasies, then fucking hire a professional. Don't ask your wife to do these things. Let me tell you why. Not because I need your money, bitch, or I want your service, because I don't. It's because I'm watching out for her, and she's already doing enough for you. Guarantee she's having the babies, she's probably got a job, so she's helping to pay the bills, and then she comes home at night and she's the only one that's aware enough to take care of the small shit, the real shit, like the cleaning and the cooking and the planning and the blah 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 blah, and probably whatever weird sideways crap you got going on. So hire a professional, figure out if this is really what you want, travel that distance from your head to your heart, the longest 18 inches you'll ever cover, and then you will know whether your desire and your fantasy is legit enough to bother a civilian. And then if it is, get to a play party. Go to the Crucible in DC. Get somewhere you can go as fast as you can get there. And if your taboo fetish is actually taboo, even within the fetish community, like you want some extreme shit, and it's not recreating trauma, then you might have to go into a wider circle. Like there might not be anybody in your metropolitan area that's into what you're into or specifically into what you're into. If you're in a rural area, guarantee you're going to have to go a little further than that. So, depending on the severity of the degree of this taboo thing that you explore and validate with a professional and then go looking for somebody who shares a similar idea, you might have to travel, bitch. You might have to plan a little kinky vacay, and good for you. And if you do that, the more time you take to get to know the other people and the more time that you take to plan, then the better it will be. Um, Once you get there, you have to remain in reciprocity. And what I mean by that is so often that thing that we've never touched or we've only touched once with a professional to validate it becomes something that we are highly energized about. Like a honeymoon phase, right? Well, tamper that down. Own the fact that you're in a honeymoon phase. Let the other people know this is the first time I've ever gotten to do this outside of a professional session. I'm really excited. So once you own that, you make it a lot more friendly for the other people to join with you, because anybody who's obsessive is just taking, they're just sucking energy off of that other person, and they're not really regarding the other player as a human, as an individual, as somebody with their own needs and their own desires. And like, let me just put a small plug in here for the dominants in the world. That is the number one fucking mistake all you goddamn submissives make about playing with me or any other goddess out there or any other dominant, is that, oh, their fetish, their realization, their satisfaction is just getting to play with me. Bitch, I just gave to you. Tribute or no tribute, I just gave and gave and gave and gave for an hour and a half. My turn. It's a power dynamic. There is no dynamic without a back and forth. So even if these people of your dreams, after you've explored it with a professional and done your research and verified that this is more than just a fantasy, that in your heart you want to be here, you want to do these things in real life, you have to understand that that's your fantasy. It's not theirs. Even if they like cross over and share a similar interest with you, like, oh, I'm into that as well. And no, I'm not going to give specific examples in this video of what a taboo fetish might be. Because number one, perception is reality. Everybody has different fantasies and fantasizes about different things. And my experience is that it is way too individualized in the kinky world to draw any major conclusions. You could think that your fetish is taboo just because you've never explored it. So I'm not even going to start to give examples, because who the fuck am I and who the fuck are you to like gradiate this shit and say this is taboo and this isn't? Bitch, everything is relative. So just get with your shit. So be very respectful. Express a lot of gratitude to people about what they want to do for you, and ask them what you can do in return. Like, even if they share that same fetish, they might have a similarity that is different, and that might be what they want. So make sure that there is communication and not compromise, but this idea of the giving, the back, and the forth, like the dynamic. You have to get outside of your own head, because otherwise you're just being selfish. You're just really being selfish. And the whole point to kink, the whole point to energy and dynamic and exchange and anything sexual is to connect. It's not about orgasm. It's not about getting off. It's not about your fetish. It is about connection. And in order to do that, you have to get outside of your own head and you have to recognize the other person. Some of the best dominants in the world are service tops, and it's kind of like the whole place we come from. I identify as a service top. It's like, what is this other person about? What can I do to connect with them? What will make them, well, in my case, like, what will make them submit? Because I know that's what they want to do. And I know that it is from a submissive place that they want to connect with me. So that is why I'm focused on what can I do to put them where they want to be in order for us to create this genuine connection that we both desire. But at the end of it, I'm going to be exhausted, and there's going to be other things I want besides like fantasy fulfillment for the other player. So do your research. If you're really unsure, you need to hire a professional. You should always experience something once in a very safe and neutral environment, like with a professional, before you start casting off these desires onto strangers that you meet online, or acquaintances that friendships that you make at play parties, or onto your spouse. Like, I'll be totally honest, in my years of private sessions with clients professionally, so many of them had wives that knew, or like kind of knew, and what it came down to was the wife didn't want to be bothered. She understood, but that's the reason that he was there. That's why I was contacted. Is your wife is doing enough. Like, leave her alone. A woman doesn't have to be everything to you. Get the fuck off our backs. Like, there's a way to meet your needs, because I'm not like invalidating your need. You have needs and they are legitimate, but you have to approach them with maturity and responsibility. And if you don't do that, then you're not ready to be indulged. You don't deserve to have people engage with you. Like, nobody owes you anything. Like, so many people come from this place of a deficit. Like, nobody ever did this. I'm owed something. Get over it. Nobody owes you shit. You don't even owe you shit. Just learn. Learn to be patient. Learn to be generous. Learn to be authentic. Learn to be kind. Learn to be honest. And that will lead you to greater connection than what you ever wanted. Because no matter how taboo you think your fetish is, I know that what you really want is connection. And that comes about by being somebody who is relatable. So do your research. First time out, I highly encourage you to hire a professional. If you can't do that, fine. Good luck to you. Long distance, 18 inches. Longest 18 inches you'll ever cover. And then once you've done your research and you've explored in the most neutral and safe way that you can, even when you find people who share your desire, just make sure that you understand that they are people with other, like, they're different than you. They're not just there for you. They have their own wishes and needs. And the more mindful you are, then the better it will be when you receive. Um, yeah, like, just be generous, just be kind, just be grateful. And also own it, whatever it is that you love. Don't be ashamed of it after you've done your research and your initial exploration. Then step out, be strong, be confident, do your best to know that you are loved, and that the way that you are created is intentional by the universe, and that the more you integrate these hidden desires, the more complete and honest you will feel as a person. And that's what I think is the most important part about exploring your kink. So it's a late Sunday night here. I just wanted to knock this out. A little bit of announcements. Again, I'll be in Taiwan at the end of March, the last week of March, and I've set up some coffees and some drinks with the Kingsters in Taiwan, so I'll be sure to report all about that. Then I'm headed to Australia to snorkel the Great Barrier Reef for 3 days, but I have 4 days where I won't be doing much. And some of my friends from Fat Life and Karen's have gotten a hold of me, so I have a couple of coffee dates and dinner dates that myself and a fellow goddess who I'm traveling with are looking forward to. So that's really exciting. I'm so grateful to be a kinky person. Like, I really like being kinky. Anytime I go anywhere, it's just like this network, and I just plug into it, and you guys are awesome, and you hook me up with recommendations for food and travel and drink and entertainment and experiences and play. It's all part of the human experience. You are a human first, and you will always be a kinkster, but never forget your humanity, because that is what infuses your kinkiness and your queerness, whatever you might be. That's really, that's the heart of it, baby. That's the heart of it. Like, that's what you're trying to connect to. So be you, and know that you are loved. And next week we will have another live stream. And until then, I love you, and I will be back in Washington, D.C., and New York starting early this spring. It's been an interesting year in Asia. I've got this thing. I take a sabbatical every 10 years. And I can't wait to be home. I miss you. And I love you. Be you. Be well. And hopefully I'll hear from you soon. Damina Vantana on Twitter. DaminaVantana.com. DaminaVantana@gmail.com.